when you experience peace for the first time, it's almost like a drug, you know?
It's better than a drug.
Yeah, it's just,
It doesn't disappoint. It doesn't destroy.
And it doesn't leave.
Tulsa Talks is the podcast that is inspiring people to have everyday meaningful conversations to gain perspective and help the world.
So you have a podcast of your own?
So, like, my dad and I are working on one. We've started shooting episodes. It's called Talks with Dad. And what we do in it is we have father-son conversations about tough topics. Topics that, well, one, and you'll get to hear something about that here soon, but those conversations would have never happened if you'd known my dad and I's relationship from 18 on. And then...
What kind of topics?
So we talk about disciplining kids. We talk about how to be a better father, how to be a better husband, what mistakes my dad has learned from as being a father, what I've learned from being a son, then being a father, those types of things.
So kind of life coaching for the son's leadership skills, management skills?
Yeah, kind of like that. It's basically, it's like Jody's group, right? It's an opportunity to learn from getting smacked in the face by life from a father and husband perspective. So, like, for instance, my dad had 6 kids. I have 3. Of course, more power to him. But, he had an opportunity, 6 different learning opportunities. And that's an opportunity for me to, as we built our relationship back, that's an opportunity for me to come in and say, hey, what about this? What about when my son smarts off to me for the 3rd time and I'm about to lose my mind? Topics like that. And we try to talk about things because we talk about things from a faith perspective, right? So
how do you not talk about things from a faith perspective? Because when you sat in that chair, you had to believe that it was going to hold your weight.
Right.
So what faith perspective are you talking about?
We talk about our faith, our spiritual faith, in God, and how we feel like the Lord has allowed situations to come to teach us, allowed us to rebuild our relationship from what it was. And
it was broken.
Oh, yeah.
If it needed to be rebuilt, it was broken.
Oh, it was very, very broken. We didn't talk for a number of years. And
both of you guys were in Tulsa the whole time?
No, actually, this is in Kansas.
Okay.
So I was born and raised in Lawrence, Kansas.
Okay.
So came to Tulsa about 9 years ago. And, but yeah, I left home when I was 18. I had a disagreement over the way that I wanted to go to different churches, basically. I wanted to go to a different church.
You were raised in the church?
I was raised in the church I was in.
What type of church?
I'm sorry?
What type of church? What denomination?
Non-denominational.
Okay,
so
that is a real broad...
Yes, it is.
Spokes or broad brush stroke.
Yeah.
So non-denominational leans in a lot of different directions.
Their direction.
Describe it.
So their direction was you have elders, deacons, and then the congregation.
A pastor?
No
One
pastor.
Okay.
Just elders.
Okay.
And so you'd have anywhere between, because they always tried to have an odd number, so you'd always have between 3 and 5, maybe as many as 7. And those are the ones who did the main teaching. And then, of course, I grew up you have your Sunday morning sermon, then you have your regular day sermon, then you go back that night for prayer meeting, then you go for Wednesday night prayer meeting, that type of thing. So
a lot of praying.
Oh, yeah. It was... And as a kid, it's not something you really understand why, right? It becomes very ritualistic. And
anything can.
Yeah. Well, anything
monotonous.
Anything that's practiced with any regularity.
Yeah, it can be very monotonous.
Right.
And boring to a youth.
Right. Well, I was leading the kids club and the youth group and stuff like that at the time. And I had gone to the elders, and I had said, hey, we're in a really unique position because we're surrounded by subdivisions. We're in a really unique position. We have a gymnasium. We can reach out to some of these kids and bring them in and their parents.
Yeah, huge community engagement.
Oh, yeah. Like it was just beautiful. It was ripe.
Yeah, let's rock this.
Yeah. And they told me that they didn't want those types of people there.
Oh, wow.
And I just remember being in shock.
Those type of people there.
I didn't even know what that meant,
Bunch of heathens, sinners, have no
people who weren't part of our church, basically. Yeah. And I just remember being blown away by it.
Your church was a church that spoke in tongues and believed in healings and all that, or?
Nope, none of those things either. It was just basically, if it wasn't in the Bible, we didn't do it.
Those things that I just talked about are in the Bible.
Right. And anything that was too far out of or too odd didn't get done either.
Okay.
So, and again, like I have a lot of love for people in those church. I mean, so I'm not wanting to speak ill of them, but
I didn't hear it.
Yeah, but I remember being just blown away. Didn't even know what that meant. And so I knew that there was going to be a change coming. So I went to my father and I said, hey, I want to go to other churches. I want to find out why other Christians are happy and we're not. I want to find out why other churches grow and we don't. And I want to find out who these people are.
These people that were not part of your community, nor did your community want them to be a part of it.
Yeah. I was like, who are they? Because they're people. They live, they breathe, they die. I mean, like they're just like everybody else. Why wouldn't we bring them the gospel?
Why would we not bring them into our community with engagement tools that we possess and share the gospel with them?
Especially since we were so well armed. So basically, at that point in time, he told me that if I didn't go to that church, I didn't live in his house. And he told me to go speak to the elders about it. So I did. And that was a rather terse conversation. Did not end well. And I went home and my dad asked me what happened. And I said, still going to do it. And he asked me for my keys. And I think he gave me a few days, And so then I left and went to Missouri and started what I call my wild child journey. I mean, I basically rejected anything to do with faith whatsoever.
How many people do you think go through that phase or maybe go through the rest of their life from church hurt?
A lot. I call them the de-churched. And it's like you grow up in something that is secure, something that's at least reliable, right? And then for one reason or another, you feel like that has been completely yanked out from underneath you. And in my generation especially, there's a lot of people, because, we were raised by our parents. A lot of our parents went to church because their parents went to church. And
tradition.
And then there's that day where you just kind of like, well, I'm going to ask some questions. And either your parents didn't know, right? Because they were just following.
Man, I never tell anybody before I meet them in person that I was thrown out of a church.
Really? Well,
that is not top of subject matter. And you happen to land your vehicle with a little bit of technical issues in the church that I was thrown out of before you came today.
I know what that feels like.
You say the Spirit doesn't work. Some people think that the Spirit doesn't lead. Some people think that the Spirit is dead and the gifts of the Spirit are not operative. What are the odds that you're on your way, you break down at the church that I was thrown out of, and then you tell me that you were thrown out of church because you had too many questions and you wanted the reality of God to be operative in your life and you wanted to find that for yourself? What are the odds?
If you want to look at the mathematical odds, they're astronomical, but there's no such thing as coincidence with the Spirit. And I find it very, very interesting, because I when I left this morning, I was like, man, something does not want this to happen. And I don't know what it was. So I was singing my praise and worship music on the way here, and I'll be dogged if I didn't get halfway through the second song And the car just shut down. And
but you made it.
I made it. I said I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna drag this car here if I have to, because having the opportunity to share a story, having the opportunity to spend time in the Spirit with a fellow believer, there's nothing more valuable than that. If you spend time with family, friends, it's refreshing, right? When you spend time with fellow believers in a Spirit-led conversation or in a hyper-focused, I'm going to use the words God state, right? When you are hyper-focused in this situation, there is refreshing is not a strong enough word. There is
filling.
Yeah. It's like being filled from your feet up and more.
Yeah. So you end up in Missouri after you get rejected by the church and your family.
Right.
In a very deep questioning state of you going and doing things that was not aligned with how you were raised.
Right. It was a very damaged state. Very damaged, because again, like I had put my life into it. I was active. I had spoken.
Yeah, you were a leader.
Yeah. I was one of the youngest speakers to ever speak at the pulpit there. I was leading the youth groups in the Wednesday night cruise. I mean, like I was 100% sold.
But wait, there's more. And you wanted to know what that more was.
It's like, because it wasn't working, and I don't know about you, but when I find out something's not working, why am I going to continue doing it the same way? Doesn't make any sense. Yeah,
I believe in breaking eggs to see what's in them so that I can make an omelet.
Right. Just depends on what kind of egg I'm breaking today.
Yeah.
So, But yeah, I ended up in Missouri, and my father and I, we just didn't speak after that. We would have a moment where I would call him after drinking or something, and we'd have a fight. And that was...
You would call him, "Hey, Dad, I love you."
Oh, no.
"I miss you."
No, I tell him I wish he was dead and that type of stuff. I genuinely wished my dad would die. In that tight of a community, your image of God is often your father. And so
other leaders, maybe a little bit.
Other leaders had, influences, sure.
But Dad was God.
That was it, and I had my God and my hero taken from me in the same week, So yeah, I wanted him to die. In fact, I remember a few years, because I would call and after drinking and we would fight and I would get mad.
At least he answered the phone.
Yeah.
And he probably expected.
He was willing to fight with me,
Spar it out with his son.
Yeah. Because I got power out of it. I got juice out of it. As I say, fill up my energy tanks, and I'd ride that for a while.
Even if it's negative? Yeah.
Because it made me feel powerful, which for someone who just had every semblance of power taken from them, having some semblance of control is everything.
So you'd call him, you guys would argue, you'd be full of whatever that energy was at that time.
Yeah. And ride it. And I distinctly remember a few years down the road, I call him, I'm ready to have it out, and he won't fight with me, won't do it. And he keeps saying over and over, like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I love you." Now, I could remember my father saying to me, "I love you," maybe a handful of times in my life. I knew he loved me, so we just didn't say it, that type of thing.
Yeah. And that's kind of masculine.
Yeah. Very, very macho,
Okay. So your dad was a macho kind of guy?
He's a man's man, yeah. He had 6 kids to support, and he worked and worked and worked. And that's, I get the entrepreneurial side from him and my mother. They both worked and ran that business together.
What kind of business were they in?
So he had a lumberyard first, but that failed when I was little. Then he was in independent sales, and then he is started his financial consulting business. He's a wealth advisor now.
Okay.
And they've been...
Like Edward Jones or Primerica?
Yeah, kind of like that, yeah. Basically tells people how to save their wealth. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it seems pretty elementary to me when you listen to what they say. Pay off your high-end credit cards or high-interest credit cards, get you a little savings account, start putting some money back.
A little critical thought.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
It's amazing that those guys can make money.
It's surprising how many people, you'd be surprised how many people need permission. They'll ask you and they'll say, you know, what do you think I should do here? And in your head, you're going, you already know what you should do.
Yeah.
But when you say it out loud, it's almost like you give them permission and then they go do it.
Yeah.
And it's just, and I've encountered that so many times.
Sheepish.
Very, I wouldn't say sheepish simply because we're all sheep to the Lord, but I would say that there are definitely some who can only follow the crowd. Yeah. And if the crowd doesn't move in the direction, that's what I meant. Okay. Yeah, they don't have the, what is it, that initial get up and go thought process. It's like they need permission. And
so your dad wouldn't argue with you?
Yeah, wouldn't argue, which was just blowing me. Like I was like, and so, and he would say like, I'm sorry, I love you. I'm sorry, I love you. Wouldn't fight with me. Hung up the phone, frustrated. I remember this, you know, even though so I would call when I was intoxicated. And I remember being so profoundly frustrated because I didn't get anything out of that. And so I thought about it for a while. I said, oh, you know what? I'll bet you he's got cancer. I'll bet you he's dying. Good. You know, couldn't wait, you know. And so I had a few more attempts at arguing with him. It was always the same. You know, I'm sorry about that. I love you. I'm sorry that happened. I'm sorry I said that. And I'm like, what is wrong with this guy? There is something wrong. The way we were raised in the church, it wasn't about love. It wasn't about forgiveness. It wasn't about grace. Those things were talked about in a very clinical way. You know, I got my fire insurance policy when I was 13. You know, I believe I really became a Christian much later. And, or I started walking with God at least much later. And so I just figured like, this guy's got to have cancer. He's got to be dying. So at this point, like I joined the Army.
How old were you when you joined the Army?
20.
Okay.
20. Turned 21 in basic training, which by the way, if anyone's ever thinking about joining the military, don't turn 21 in training. My sister sent me a birthday card that had the chicken dance on it. And it was probably one of the worst things that happened to me that week because you open it up and the card starts singing. And of course, in training, you open up your mail in front of everybody with the instructor, drill sergeants there. And so the sergeant hands me the paper and they used my nickname for me at the time, which...
The military given nickname?
Yes, the military given nickname. Rather derogatory. And so they give it to me, I open it up, and it starts singing. And my drill sergeant says, why don't you just go ahead and start pushing till that thing's done? Well, the thing's on a loop. I didn't know that. I don't know if he knew that, but it was on a loop. So,
pushing, push-ups?
Push-ups, yeah. Just start pushing. And yeah, so you're going to turn 21.
How many push-ups did you end up doing?
Oh, I have no idea.
A lot?
A lot. And I mean, like, I'm a tall guy. I mean, I got a lot of frame to push.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking when you said you went in the military and you're what, 6'4"?
6'4", yeah.
And that's a heck of a load to go through that type of training.
Yeah. I mean, it can be, but I also have really long legs, so I can do those ruck marches. I would not say easier than everybody else, but I'm better designed for it.
So some things were easier, some things were more difficult in training.
Yeah. Sit-ups for some reason. Bending half this all the way up. It's,
burpees.
Yeah.
Long ways to go.
Mountain climbers. Used to say, let's go visit Jesus. And we do mountain climbers forever. Didn't help with the whole Christianity thing.
Yeah.
In fact, at the time I had my I had my dog tags registered as Roman Catholic because I was still connected to God in a way that I knew that if I died, I wasn't going to go to hell. That was about it.
Fire insurance.
Fire insurance. I mean, like that's literally
Easy
what it
enough.
was. Yeah.
Check.
And
the box is checked, and we move on with life.
Right. And I liked the structure. I liked the process. I liked the way things worked. And I knew that if I died, they'd give me a Roman Catholic funeral. So just in case, get some last rites in there, just to make sure, just be sure.
Maybe your dad would have paid for a few indulgences while you were there, right?
No, maybe no. I didn't even tell them I was joining. They found out when they got a call for Family Day, because you had to put down contact information. And
so you joined the military.
Yeah.
Got your fire insurance, registered as a Catholic. What's next?
So after I traveled,
and this was post conversation with your dad where he said he loved you,
yeah. I mean, it was, because you have to think about it at this point now. A few years before I lost essentially everything from a psychological standpoint, then what little power I was able to accomplish by having an argument was now gone too. And so the military offered guidance, structure, power, and I was like...
Yeah, better than going to jail to get those things?
Yeah. And, the only difference between me and someone else is I didn't get caught.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying.
Not later, not then.
I'm saying that prison gives you that structure and guidance.
Right.
And you chose to go in the military instead of commit a lot of crimes and go into the jail.
Yeah. I figured, why not go join the biggest group in the world where you're allowed to shoot guns? Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
My recruiter saw me coming from a mile away.
There is something fun about blowing stuff up.
There really is. That just makes me happy.
So you join the military, you turn 21, you get to do a lot of push-ups because of a birthday card. Then what?
So I joined as a reservist. And so I had a 6-month training period after basic, and they said, okay, well, we're going to drop you off with a unit closest to your home of record. I'd forgotten to change my home of record from Lawrence, Kansas. So they said, well, the unit that's nearest is Topeka, which is like 30 minutes away. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And of course, at this point in time, like I'm sold on the military life. So I'm doing everything I can to get more schools, more certs, try and go active duty. And unfortunately, the MOS I had chosen was apparently fairly expensive. And so they wanted me to go to my reserve unit. So I land, and I had to stay at my parents' house for a week because I didn't know anyone. And my dad offered it. And I was like, this is just, I don't have a choice though, right? Because I got to find an apartment. So I'm home in my old room. It's the most surreal thing ever. And it was calm. I never remember my house being calm. It was always chaotic. Of course, 6 kids, right? And so my dad and I, for the most part, we managed to coexist. I find an apartment, and I go back to Wild Child in Topeka. Over time, though, my dad and I started to have more conversations of what I would call like a genial type, less confrontational. And I'd gotten married and was living in Topeka, working at a restaurant, still trying to, at that point in time, I was just trying anything I could try to get deployed. I was irritating my colonel to no end. And then I heard that, people die. And so I heard that some people I knew died. And you get the you get the, why not me? Or, why was it not me? Or I felt like I should have been there, that type of thing. And so you kind of pile that on to a bunch of stuff that's already going on, and so, but and then I ended up getting in trouble with the law, getting separated from the military. And throughout all of it, my dad was very understanding. Now you have to remember too, this is a man of rule, law, and order. I mean, like, this is man. And here he is, like, people make mistakes. I'm like, people.
Did you ever come right out and ask him, what the heck is going on with you? What is
later?
Yeah, that would have probably been that was your first thought, but you didn't ask the question.
No, because you didn't ask questions. That was part of it. You didn't ask questions. Mm-hmm. And
yeah, your dad and my dad's kind of similar, apparently, or your dad was similar to my dad.
Was, yeah, and it was also one of those situations where it was so foreign that it's like walking into someone else's house who you don't know, and they're like, "Hey, come sit here. Hey, you can help yourself to the fridge," and you're like, now, how many times has someone said, "Make yourself at home, help yourself to whatever in the fridge," and you're like, and then you don't touch the fridge, and you don't do any of those things. So
yeah, I
like
wait a while. I wait a while and feel my way around to see what they actually meant by that.
Right. Because my dad used to be an explosive guy, so I'm just like, it's better to. But I did. I got remarried, and about a couple months after my son was born, we tried to get divorced, my current wife and I. But when I got divorced from my first wife, I felt like God was saying, like, hey, see if you can make this thing work. And so I was talking to my dad about it because I was in such a messed up state. Like, my dad was always willing to talk to me now. And so I was talking to my dad about it, and I was like, I think I need to try and make this work. And he said that, that was just something he'd never expected. And anyway, it ends up not working out. I get married to my second wife. And then we try to get divorced, and then we pull it out. Well, part of pulling out was we set down ground rules. And one of her ground rules was she wanted us to go back to church. And I was not into that idea. Church is fake. It's full of hypocrites. It's the worst kind of people. Christians are some of the worst people I've ever met. And the rule of going back to church was a deal breaker for her. And I wanted to make it work with her. So I was like, fine. So, well, you and the kid can go to church, and then I'll go to church if I don't have to work, because I was working in restaurants at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
If you weren't scheduled to work at that time,
right,
you would go to church with them.
Right.
Okay.
But I was a manager, so I wrote the schedule. So I didn't go. And, after a while, my brother Ethan called me. And my dad and I are kind of rebuilding this broken relationship. And my brother Ethan called me and said, "Hey, I'm building this business in Tulsa. I need your help." And so, okay, cool. So we moved up here. Her grandparents are here. We're helping take care of them. And my dad and I's relationship just kind of started to continue to grow. And at this point now, I don't remember exactly when, but I was like, "What's wrong with you?" And he's like, "I met Jesus, man. I met Jesus." And I was like, "Oh, that's nice. Good for you. You've met Jesus. Awesome." And he became a freak. Like, this was a guy I didn't know. I didn't know him. He was happy. He was supportive. He was kind. He was loving. Things I had not experienced from this guy. And that's why, I reference like my old dad and my dad today, because they're just not the same people and the same person. And he said, "I met Jesus, man." I'm like,
what the heck does that mean?
Well, that was my question. I said, I don't even know.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like, okay, Great. Awesome. And so when we moved up here, cuckoo for Christ, man. And hopefully I don't get sued over that remark. But when we moved up here, I was out of restaurants, which was good because the hours were just killing my family. It was
what kind of work do you and your brother still run this business?
Yeah, we still have a couple of businesses together.
Okay.
So
what kind of business?
So we have like Bellissima Salon and Spa, which is the beauty salon. And then we also do some real estate stuff. So we had another business, but we've closed that one down since. And we used to have a general contracting firm. We sold that.
So the spa, share with me what that looks like, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, sure. So it's a hair salon.
Okay.
We have a spa side, and we rent out booths.
The spa side.
Yeah.
I know what getting your hair cut and colored and all that stuff looks like. What does the spa side look like?
It's where they do the pedicures and the manicures and things like that.
No massages, none of that.
Not yet. We have private rooms and booths. We rent rooms, we rent booths.
Okay.
And then we're also launching like a commission program soon called the Startup Stylist Program. Basically, where we're going to help students who are coming out of school, because in school they get taught how to do what they do, but they don't get taught how to run a business. And so we'll take them and help them learn how to like start a business, and we'll start them out on commission.
Okay, like business coaching for the salon industry.
Yeah, for
your people?
New stylists and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're really excited about that one. Like,
cool. Where is this located?
We're at on Sheridan, 71st and Sheridan.
It's a nice area.
So yeah, it's not bad.
A lot of middle upper income residential living there in that.
Yeah, it's got a nice area. It's in the Mill Shopping Center, and actually it's at 5916. So it's like 61st and Sheridan.
Okay.
5916.
Yeah.
And it's in a nice shopping center, and it's
sounds like that's right across the street from Tally's restaurant, or right around that area.
It's in the same area. It's in the same parking lot as like Senior Tequila's.
Okay.
So
yeah, I know where that is. So anyway, you moved to Tulsa.
6915.
Your dad is a Jesus freak.
Yeah.
You're trying to understand what that means, because the way you were raised was not that.
Right.
In that church, and you're in Tulsa working with your brother.
Right. Which, correction, is 6915.
Okay. So 71st and Sheridan.
Yeah, 71st and Sheridan.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're here, we're working, busting our backs to make things happen. And meanwhile, my dad is just getting more and more strange. And I mean, like, he would say things like, I don't like to do anything without Jesus. I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, I brush my teeth with Jesus. I'm like, okay, good for you, buddy.
Yeah. You okay with a little Christian humor?
Sure.
You ever heard of holy crap?
Holy crap?
Yeah. Jesus pooping.
Oh.
Another way to say it.
I get it. Yeah.
So
I don't know if I'll use that one around my kids. I don't use the holy crap one around my kids either, but Jesus pooping.
Jesus pooping.
I think I'm going to say that to a few different people to see what reaction I get.
Or holy cow, that's like Hindu.
Right?
Holy cow.
I know the phrase Hindu? Holy cow. Yeah. Jesus pooping.
Holy cow. So anyway, brushing his teeth reminded me of Jesus pooping.
Yeah. Well,
pooping with Jesus.
He does everything with Jesus, according to him. And
this is really foreign to your thoughts.
Oh, yeah. There's no way in the world this guy would, he's insane.
Yeah.
He's insane.
He's unflipped his lid.
Right. And, since we moved to Tulsa and I wasn't in restaurants anymore, Sundays were free.
Oh, boy, you're trapped now.
Yeah, she got me. And moved me to a whole different state. So we start going to a local church. And this was a church unlike anything I'd ever been in. the one I grew up in was kind of somber. We sang hymns, maybe with the piano, maybe a guitar if you're getting risque, And these people, they were like worshiping God. They clearly wanted to be there. The things the pastor would say was things that I knew to be factually correct, but also delivered in a way where it was different, And I remember being extremely uncomfortable.
Can you remember one thing that was said so we can get some sort of an example?
Yeah. So, for instance, I knew God as an angry, just, jealous God. That's how I knew him, right?
Seems like he had that side in the Old Testament, and he has that side
one figured out.
He has that side in Revelation.
Right. And
Jesus had that side.
Yeah. I remind people all the time, Jesus picked up a whip. Just saying.
Flipped tables and
there's a time for
told people to stop doing what they were doing.
There's a time for it. And and I remember he said, this is a good one, there's nothing just about salvation. And so he was going on to talk about salvation is a gift. This is something you couldn't earn. This is something that you didn't, quote unquote, deserve. And see, I always just take salvation.
You can't add up to earn salvation.
Yeah. There's no sense of fair in it, which fair for me is big, right? That's how you measure things. And I remember just kind of being blown away by it because salvation for me was always kind of a given. I had my fire insurance. And that was one of the bigger moments. And so we're at the church, and then they make an announcement that this one pastor is branching out to start his own thing. And I leaned over to my wife. I said, we're going to go with him. I had no idea who the guy was, heard him speak maybe a couple of times. I said, we're going to go with him. So now we're in this church, this more small, more intimate church, still practicing this way.
How many people were going to the church that you guys stepped away from?
That we stepped away from?
Yeah, that you started this other church with. So the original
few hundred.
church. Okay.
A few hundred.
A few hundred on a Sunday morning?
Yep. To 30 or 40.
Okay. So almost a home church.
Yeah, well, it was a size I was used to. And it was a size that's too small to hide in. And so my dad's getting more strange. I'm starting to hear all these different things about different sides of Christianity that I'd never experienced before. And over time, my father and I became best friends. And it was simply because he met Jesus. And then there was a moment there when I lived in Topeka and I was getting divorced from my first wife. I remember it was just, everything was so messed up. Everything was so crazy. And I remember just saying, all right, God, if you're really out there and you really give a crap, will you please let me sleep? Because I hadn't slept in forever.
Like days?
Yeah, 3 days.
No sleep. Zero sleep.
No sleep. And that's no chemicals were involved. I mean, I tried drinking to pass out. That didn't work. I was awake.
Yeah, I've been there and done that.
Yeah, it's awful. It's awful because you start hearing stuff and seeing stuff. And, but I was out just like that. And I woke up and I was like, oh, crap. And so now that my father and I are in this position and it starts out with, I met Jesus, I'm sorry, I love you, and getting to take a nap, right? My wife insisting that we go back to church and starting to hear who Jesus really truly is, to the best of our understanding. Then I realized that there isn't a life that I want to have without him. And the brushing his teeth with Jesus thing made sense, And so over the past couple of years, my father and I have grown closer. We've been able to share more things as brothers in Christ, and it has been the most beautiful relationship, coming from, I hope you die, to.
So how long ago was it that your dad received Jesus, met Jesus? How many years ago?
Well, I'd say it's probably, I've been here for roughly 10, 12 in that range. So
how long ago has it been since you stepped away from the larger church to help start the smaller spinoff?
5 or 6. So it was definitely not an overnight change. There was so much work in between. It's that unto itself would be its own 3 episodes.
What kind of work? What are you talking about?
So
I think I understand, but
right.
I want you to hear.
Sure.
What kind of work have you done?
Of dying to yourself, the work of surrender, right? It's all right. When I first started going to this newer church, a few months later, we moved into a new building. There was some people there already, and I became friends with one of the other pastors. And I was really struggling because I felt like God wanted me to do more with my life, but I didn't want to do it because if I did, I felt like I would lose something. And so
losing something's part of gaining something, isn't it?
Right. On the other side of it, it's like, dude, just do it, But at that point in time, I was just afraid. And Matt was like, you can yell at God, right? He's like, you can just let him have it. He's big enough. Like, you can just let him have it. Tell him exactly what you're thinking. Yell at him. I was like, oh, no. It's like, no, you can. And so I did. And I mean, just everything just cracked, broke. I remember, feeling destroyed. I'm, bawling in my car on the way home, screaming, you can't do this to me, that like, you can't have this. I don't want this, and at the end of it, just experiencing that moment of peace. When you experience peace for the first time, it's almost like a drug,
It's better than a drug.
Yeah, it's just
it doesn't disappoint, it doesn't destroy.
And it doesn't leave. It doesn't leave. Now, I mean, there's moments where I felt less peaceful than others, right? But it's a peace that passes understanding, and I got it,
independent from circumstance.
I'm sorry?
Independent from circumstance.
Yeah. I mean, there's tough times out there, business is not easy. Having to shut down a business. There's all kinds of crazy things happening, but this is all within God's will. This is all within His plan.
You so think God has a plan?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it would be impossible for someone of His, for being who He is. It's impossible to think that He doesn't have a plan for each individual person, because He's that big. He's that powerful. He's that kind. He cares that much about an insignificant individual, and He raises us to a point of significance. Every person He has a plan for, every single one, and I'm inside mine.
But man, I'm pissed at God because He's jacked me over if this is His plan for my life, is what some people could think.
Yeah, and I remember feeling like that. And I know exactly what that feeling is. There are decisions you can make without Him. And He's always with you, but you can make decisions without Him. And those decisions can cause things to happen. God will never leave you. He will never forsake you. But that doesn't mean you're always going to listen to Him. It doesn't mean you're always going to make the decision that He wants you to make. And so when that was one of the hardest things for me, is realizing I had to take responsibility for a lot of things that I didn't want to take responsibility for. Oh, this sucks. This situation is terrible. If God really cared about me, He wouldn't let me go through this. Well, I was going through it because I put myself there. But I could go to God and He'd help me get out of it. You see what I mean? That you have that complex after a while. It's like, well, I didn't say thank you when things are good, so I'm not going to ask for help when things are bad. You know? And
yeah, maybe some of us could attach to being the prodigal son a little better, and maybe that would help us go back into the Father's presence and not want to make those decisions to go away again.
Right.
Not blaming him for what has occurred in our lives, but honoring and appreciating him for being there for us to return to him.
Yeah.
And love him enough to let him guide us.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
What's going on now, currently?
Well, I mean, in terms of like my father and I's relationship, I mean, things are great when they're maybe he's my best, you know, one of my best friends, you know, BFFs. And we're actually working on our own podcast called Talks with Dad, where we have conversations between father and son that are difficult to have, especially if you're in a position like where he and I used to be. Sometimes you need to hear that your father loves you.
Can you remember those times as accurately as they probably happened?
You know, I'd love to say yes, but the reality is probably not. The majority of what I remember is the emotions and the way it made me feel, specific, hardwired incidents, you know, like I'll never forget being told by the elders, you know, not those kinds of people. I'll never forget that.
And your dad stood with that.
Turned his back on me. And I'll never forget that. But I'll also never forget the moment where he was like, I met Jesus.
He lost his son for years, is what you told us.
Yeah.
Do you think that could have helped him have a revelation?
Oh, yeah. He said it does. He said it did, you know. It's
pressurized situations a lot of times help us understand where we might have taken a wrong step.
There's a saying I have, and it's what I say: when humans encounter trauma, they tend to go screaming and or violently in the other direction. And
yeah, my brother says, without enough pain, there is no gain.
Right.
Or change. Actually, that's what he says. Without enough pain, there is no change.
No change. Yeah. I mean, it's right. I mean, you know, and again, like in one of the episodes that my dad and I have over in the Talks with Dad podcast, he says, you know, I lost my kid. I was doing everything that God told me to do. I was doing everything right by the book. And I still lost my kid. And I lost another one after that, you know. And he's like, I finally realized that something was wrong, you know.
Yeah, by the book is what the Pharisees and Sadducees were thinking they were doing. Jesus came and told them that they had it all jacked up.
He said, you make it worse for people, you know. You're a stumbling block. You make it worse, you know. Yeah. And so that's why.
They made it worse for themselves.
Yeah. Well, they couldn't see past it. And they got themselves into a silo. And once you're in that self-perpetuating silo, it's almost impossible to get out. It's not impossible, but it's really difficult. And
so that would take some breaking.
Yeah, at a minimum,
some breaking
some eggs.
Yeah, let's see what's in that egg.
Pull some ripcords.
Yeah. You using my phrases?
Yeah, I'm borrowing them. Creative license.
Yeah, absolutely. I say that all things have been freely given. All things have been freely given, and if you think you've earned anything, then you're missing the mark. I think that true humility is watching the adventure that God has sent us to live.
Right.
And loving him enough to attach yourself to his way of life forever.
The hardest thing for men to do is often receive. We're doers. We're fixers. Give me something to do. Give me a mission. I'll do it.
Yeah. I was in the construction field for 3 decades, owning my own business and somewhat successful. And I learned how to delegate, receive vision, make a platform and delegate, watch things happen through other people. And that's given me a different perspective than some other people have. I'm not as much of a doer of my own anymore, but I know what my doing is.
Right.
My doing is to be completely connected with God and allowing Him to tell me where to take the next step, as I have no idea where that is before He shows me.
Right.
Then with that, I give the information where our team's taking that next step as it comes to me.
Right.
So that we can implement the steps that He's shown us to take.
One of the greatest epiphanies I've ever been given was when I realized that I'm walking through other people's worlds. In a few minutes, I'm going to get up, and I'll be gone, and we may see each other again, we may not. But while I'm here in your world, I want to make sure that I leave a Christ-sized impact. So when I walk through the world of someone's world in the grocery store, I want to leave a Christ-sized impact. How can I do that?
Yeah.
And having that moment.
Yeah. So as I told you pre-recording, it came to me stronger than at least it has come to me for a while, that Jesus gave 10% of His 30 years into the next 3 years of His life and affected all culture for 2,000 years.
For all time.
For all time. And I think that's what you're talking about. The challenge that I see with that and the balance that God has, which we talked about, God does have wrath.
Right.
God does have grace. And His love is multifaceted to exactly what the person needs wherever they are in their life, in my opinion.
Yep, it's tailored.
He loves you from every angle that you need at that time. And I say with perspective of other people, from His perspective, get over the me-isms, we-isms, to live from the I am perspective. We can love people the way they need to be loved. Maybe they need a table turned over. Maybe they need to be told not to do this. And far be it from me to step outside God's will and do that at any time unless I am strongly told that I need to love that person that way. I am absolutely leaning more toward grace for myself and everybody else, but I need some tables turned over in my life from time to time. I need to be told very strongly, you do not need to do that anymore.
Right.
And with that being said, you guys are in a great position now together moving forward. He still lives in Kansas?
Still lives in Lawrence. So, and they'll be there for the foreseeable future as far as I can tell. So,
how's the family core as far as the children, your siblings?
It's strong. We were all raised together, homeschooled together. Like, we are very much.
Yeah, but it was broken for a while.
It was. And, my father and my mother had a big part in healing that. My dad had to come back and kind of redo some of the wiring. My mom had to kind of take the edges off some stuff, and when us siblings started getting back together, it was so
better than old times.
It was better than old times. Better than old times. That's a great way of looking at it. Yeah. So we're strong. We're spread out now, but I can walk in any of my siblings' houses right now.
Yeah.
So
a while ago, I didn't finish that thought, and I was thinking about how you were talking about being in just a very brief relationship with people, but watching God work through you to affect your surroundings and having that presence of love flowing through you, basically, I think is what I heard. And
yep.
That's why I went to the 3 years of Jesus ministry.
10%.
Was 10% of what he had been trained to do to that time, was filled with the Holy Spirit, baptism, and then he went out and he changed culture forever. And I propose that what you just said is, if we have God's love flowing through us, that we can change the surroundings that we enter.
You'll overflow.
With that presence. And it's not by going and preaching or strong words necessarily. It's not by having scripture come out of you continuously, but it's about the presence that you have and the love that flows through you. Because I've been there where I go out, or I did a decade or so ago, and spewed Bible verses everywhere. And not so much anymore. Not so much anymore. It's more just relational awareness and hopefully most of the time light-hearted, engaging way of doing it so that it is relevant to those people that can receive it.
Mom has a really beautiful way of saying it. She says that we need to show Jesus with the skin on. And we need to exemplify. We need to let the Spirit fill us up. And we need to exemplify it so that even if you don't share a Bible verse, even if you don't witness to them, even if you don't do something that's overtly Christian, an interaction with someone in that overflow state can leave them saying, what was it about that person? And then when they see another person who's filled, overflowing, they may ask them, what is wrong with you? You know what I mean? Or when they go somewhere where the Spirit is there, they're going to say, this is that thing. You know what I mean?
You know why I don't go hard preaching and Bible quoting anymore?
I'm very interested to find out why.
What would have happened if somebody went preaching and Bible quoting to you when you were hurting?
Oh, yeah, no, there'd been a fight.
What would happen if somebody comes into your life loving you in a lighthearted way and engaged you differently than you've experienced before?
Here we are.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Not that the other is not necessary. It's just not my style.
Right.
I want to engage people where they are.
There's always a different need in different areas for different folks.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. God has made us multifaceted to be in his image, each piece of him, so that the world can see his love flowing through his community, right, in my opinion.
And I'm here to be the best vessel I can be. So.
Thanks for coming today.
Absolutely.
We are here to help you discover or develop your passions, how you can use them, and why you exist. How can we help you help others better?